sasa ni katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM. Na sitingishwi, nimesikia nimeambiwa sijasoma. Wamama mliokaa hapa niwaulize swali. Si ni nyinyi mnatuzaa? Si mmetuzaa? Haya, tena mumetulinda, si ndio? Mkatupatia heshima. Mimi nataka kuuliza swali moja. Nilivyosimama hapa mimi niliachwa ama nilifiwa na baba yangu nikiwa miaka 14. Nikang'ang'ana nikasoma mpaka nikafika university. Hiyo mwendo ya kujisomesha sio rahisi. Lakini Sifuna anatuma Profesa Kibwana kutusi mimi kwamba sijasoma. Kwa hivyo nyinyi kina mama, nyinyi wapiga kura, huwa mnatafuta maprofesa ndio muwapigie kura. Kwa hivyo wenye wajasomesha hapa, nyinyi wengi mliosomesha lakini labda mtoto hakufika kiwango akaitwa profesa. Hayo maneno ya kunitusi mimi sijasoma ni sawa si sawa? Sio sawa, lakini tunamsamea. Kidogo amemtuma rafiki yake mwingine kuniita chokora. Mimi mkiniangalia hivi nakaa chokora? Na hata nikikaa chokora nimepata nyumbani, na nyumbani ni boma linaitwa ODM. Na sitauza chama. Mchana Sifuna anamwapisha Oburu Oginga kama party leader. Tena anakimbia katika runinga kuleta confusion kwamba hamtambui kamwe. Hiyo ni vyema kweli? Ni ungwana? Kwa sababu huwezi chukua Biblia uapishe mtu alafu unarudi kusema haumtambui. Alikuwa anampeleka baba Raila Amolo Odinga State House. Wakaanza kuzungumuza maneno ya broad based. Anarudi mchana anasema hatambui hajui. Kazi ya katibu mkuu ni kuwakilisha, kusemezana na watu kuhusu stand ya chama. Lakini yeye ameanza matusi na kiburi. Ni ndugu yangu na mheshimu, lakini asiponiheshimu, hiyo heshima pia atakosewa na mtu mwingine. Mbarikiwe sana. Wakirusha tunarusha. Oh. Yule alikuwa hapa. Haya, najifunza kazi. Haya, nimerudi kumleta mtu ambaye ni gwiji wa siasa, ambaye nilikuwa namtizama aking'ang'ana na magwiji wa siasa wengine mpaka nasema nitafika huko lini. Huyo ni gavana wangu wa Busia County, anaitwa Nyongesa Otuoma.
Haya, mimi sio gavana. Ngoja nitakuita. Haya. Garashi oye! Garashi oye! Garashi ya mjambo. Tusalimiane kwa mkono, nione tusalimiane kwa mkono. Mimi kwa majina, mimi naitwa Junet Mohamed. Mimi ni mbunge na kiongozi huko bunge. Mimi sio gavana na bado sijatamani kukuwa gavana. Nimetamani kuwa rais tu. Rais, gavana sijatamani bado. Rais ndio natamani sana. Na naomba mniombee nipate. Wangapi wananiombea nione kwa mapenzi ya Mungu. Haya, jambo la kwanza. Mimi nataka kuchukua nafasi hii kushukuru watu wa Garashi na watu wa Magarini kwa ujumla kwa kuchagua Mheshimiwa Harrison Garama Kombe. Mimi ndio kiongozi wake huko bunge. Na mimi najua na nilifurahi sana wakati mmerudisha yeye. Kwa sababu kufundisha mtu mgeni vile bunge inafanya kazi sio kazi rahisi. Lakini mtu ambaye ana uzoefu, mtu ambaye anaelewa, ni rahisi sana afanye kazi katika bunge. Mimi nimesema asanteni sana. Kwa sababu hapa kwanza ni pali pa ODM. Ya pili pia mmechagua mtu ambaye anaelewa nini kazi. Si namna hiyo? Jambo la pili, mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba chama chetu cha ODM. Chama chetu cha, tuseme ODM, ODM. Mmechoka? Tuseme ODM. ODM. Nikisema ODM unasema tuko tayari. ODM. 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 Jambo la pili, hapa ODM tunaongozwa na gavana wetu. Governor Gideon Maitha tulikuwa naye pia bunge, ameniwacha bunge, yeye akakuwa governor, hakuniambia twende pamoja, mimi pia nijaribu governor pale. Sasa hii ndio mimi nafuata yeye nikuwe governor tena. Sasa nafikiria niwache rais ama niende governor moja yao. Lakini huyu Mungaru ni mtu ambaye amesimamia chama yetu kwa njia ya uhaki na uadilifu. Sisi tunasikiza yeye kabisa. Na vile anatuambia ndio tunafuata, akiwa kiongozi yetu wa chama na akiwa governor wa hapa Kilifi County. Na wangapi wanasema Mungaru wanarudi 2 term? Nione kwa mkono. Wangapi wanasema hapa? Mimi naombea yeye kwa sababu nimetembea tangu juzi hapa Kilifi. Sijaona kama ako na upinzani. Sijui watu wanampenda hivi, sijui kwa nini. Mungaru, hiyo siri lazima utuambie bwana. Sisi pia tutumie. Kuna kitu kuna mpangilio. Sasa Mungaru ndio mtu yetu hapa Kilifi ambaye tunamsikiza, ambaye ni kiongozi wetu. Jambo la tatu, chama chetu ni chama cha ODM. Na sio chama ya ukabila ama chama ya pali ndogo ndogo ama chama ya ubinafsi. Hii ni chama ya kitaifa. Chama ya governor ya hapa Kilifi ni ODM. Governor ya Mombasa, governor ya Garissa, Wajir, Busia yuko hapa. Migori, Kisumu, Kakamega, Tana River, Kenya nzima, gavana ya hapa Kenya wengi yao ni chama cha ODM. Hiyo ni dhihirisho ya kwamba hii chama ni chama cha kitaifa. Chama ambaye tumewachiwa na baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Kwa hiyo sasa chama chetu inastahili heshima. Chama inastahili nini? Tuheshimu chama. Tusije tukachezea chama kwa njia ambayo haifai. Mimi nataka kuambia nyinyi, sisi kama chama tumeona upinzani, na tumeona pia serikali. Kiongozi wetu aliyepia mleta kwaje tutakosa kushinda uchaguzi kuu. Mmeona hiyo mpangilio? Kama tulinyoa hawa kwa hii uchaguzi ndogo na tukashinda 6 zote, nani atatushinda 2027? Kuna watu wengine hapa Kenya, nataka kuambia nyinyi nikiwa ngarashi hapa. Akili yao imewekwa, their brains have been conditioned, akili yao imetengenezwa wakijua ya kwamba chama ya ODM lazima ikae kwa upinzani. So hawa wataki chama kingine ikuwe upinzani. Wanataka tu ODM ndio ikuwe upinzani. Hata vyama ndogo ndogo zimeanzwa juzi kama DCP, sijui DAP, vyama vya kijiji wanataka wakuwe kwa serikali, na chama kubwa, chama ya kitaifa wanataka ikuwe kwa upinzani. Mnakubali hiyo? Mnakubali hiyo? Sisi tumerefuka. Chama ya ODM haitawahi kuwa tena chama ambaye itakuwa katika nchi yetu kwa upinzani. Itakuwa chama tawala. Itakuwa chama ambaye inatengeneza serikali. Na vyama vinatengenezwa ili waingie kwa serikali, wasaidie nani? Wananchi. Si namna hiyo? So kuna wengine, there are people in this country who want to take pride in being in the opposition. Wacha niseme Kiingereza, kuna wengine huko Nairobi hawajui Kiswahili. There are people who take pride in being in the opposition because of self-esteem. Anataka aonekane amepiga kifua. Miaka 35 mimi nilikuwa katika vuguvugu, mimi ndio nimeleta katiba mpya, mimi ndio nimeleta sijima nini. Umefanya yote. Wapi serikali? Wapi serikali? Hiyo ni kweli maongo? Miaka nenda miaka rudi, wewe unataka tukue, unataka uweke watu yako kupinzani kwa maandamano, kwa barabara. Wewe hiyo yote ulikuwa unafanya ili upate serikali. Si utuletee serikali basi kama wewe ni bingwa. Kama wewe ni bingwa, Nyerere alisema kama wewe ni bingwa tuambie ya kesho. Kama wewe ni bingwa usituletee serikali. Njia ya maandamano, njia ya maafa, njia ya kuharibu vitu yetu, njia ya kuangamiza watu yetu na kuangaisha hawa hapa duniani, hatutakubali. Kama wewe unaona unataka kuwa upinzani, weka kando. Sisi tunataka tukae chini na chama cha UDA kwanza. Baada hiyo ndio tuongee na vyama vingine. Na tunataka kuongea juu ya UDA kuhusu mambo ya nchi. Tunataka kuongea na hawa mambo ya devolution. Tunataka kuongea hawa mambo ya haki ya wananchi. Tunataka kuongea na hawa mambo ya kuleta pesa kwa mfuko ya wananchi. Tunataka kuongea na hawa juu ya kulete ubora katika maisha ya wananchi. Baada hiyo ndio tutatengeneza serikali. Kuna values ambaye ODM inaamini. We must empower, we must make devolution work. Wapate pesa zaidi ili pesa itoke huko juu ikuje mashinani. Hiyo ndio ODM watazungumza naye na chama ya President Ruto ambaye inaitwa UDA. Hatuendi pale kugawana viti peke yake. Tunaenda kuhakikisha ya kwamba maslahi ya wananchi imewekwa kipaumbele. Lazima tukae kama vyama viwili tuulizane tutaboresha maisha ya wananchi ya Wakenya namna gani. Ndio baada ya hiyo ndio tutatengeneza serikali. Ya mwisho nataka kusema hivi. Kuna wengine wanasema ati hawezi kubali serikali hii ifike term ya pili ama ya term ya tatu. Mimi sijasema ikuwe one term, ikuwe two term. Lakini nataka kueleza hawa wenzangu katika ODM. Hata ukipiga hii serikali, watu wa ODM wako ndani ya serikali. Waziri wa fedha ni mtu ya ODM. Waziri wa madini ni mtu ya ODM. Waziri wa cooperative society ni mtu ya ODM. Waziri sijui ya gani nyingine? Ya matawi. Waziri wa kawi ni mtu ya ODM. Waziri ya sijui East African Community mama school ni mtu ya ODM. Sijui sasa utajipaka rangi gani useme ya kwamba wale ni watu nyeusi na mimi ni mtu nyeupe. Tafadhali tuongee kama watu wazima. Tukae chini na UDA kama ODM, tuongee na hawa, tuulize hawa tutaboresha maisha ya wananchi namna gani na tuunde serikali ya 2027 na tukiwa pamoja ili kila mwananchi ya ODM apate haki yake. Apate haki ya mashamba yake, apate maji safi, apate elimu bure. Hiyo ndio maisha ambayo tunataka kubadilisha. Sio mambo ya kujipiga kifua na kusema lazima tukue kwa opposition. Opposition sio chakula ya mtu bana. Asanteni sana kwa hayo machache na mengi. Nataka sasa kualika gavana sasa ya Busia. Anaitwa Mheshimiwa Paul Otuoma. Huyu ni gavana ya Busia. Amekuja kutembelea nyinyi kama wanachama wa OD.
Asante sana kiongozi wetu wa kule bungeni, ndugu yangu gavana Mung'aro, rafiki yangu wa dhati wa siku nyingi sana bwana Kombe, tumefanya naye kule bungeni. Natoa hongera kwako na watu wa hapa Magarini na haswa hapa Garashi kwa kuweza kumchagua ndugu yetu. Na nimeona umeanza mzuri na kushughulikia elimu. Mwenyezi Mungu akuongoze ufanyie watu kazi, kwa sababu mwito wa ODM inakuanga maisha bora kwa kila Mkenya. Kwa hivyo sisi tutataka maisha bora kwa watu wa hapa kupitia kwako. Ya pili, kwa sababu ya muda, vile umesikia mimi nimetoka kule Busia ambaye ni mpaka wa Kenya na Uganda. Na nimetembea hapa pia kama mwanachungwa. Baba aliweza kututembeza nchi hii yote na hapa Kilifi pia. Tukawa sisi wote kitu ambao kinatuunganisha ni chungwa, chama chetu kikuu cha ODM. ODM! ODM! Sasa yangu kuongezea tu ni mawili. Najua katika ODM baba alituacha. Lakini baba ya kutuacha chama kiliketi chini, kikasema sasa kiongozi wetu ni Oburu Odinga. Na wale ambao wanajaribu kuonesha madharau kwa Oburu Odinga, mimi naona hawa ni wakora. Kwa sababu tofauti ya Oburu Odinga na baba ni watoto wale wanafuatana. So kama ulikuwa na heshima na baba Raila Amolo Odinga, utamkosea aje heshima Oburu? Na ni chama imemwambia wewe shikilia hii chama utuongoze ili tuweze kufika pahali baba alisema. Kuna wengine pale ndugu zangu wawili ambao saa nyingine wanafanya mnaweza kufikiria kwamba kule sisi tunatoka ndio tunaleta fugufugu mingi kwa ODM. Lakini sio ukweli. Sisi bado tuko ndani ya ODM. Ukiangalia shida yao, Junet, tunajua watu husema mjuae uchungu wa mwana ni mzaa. mzazi. Hawa ndugu zetu ukiwachunguza vizuri, ulizako tu yeye MCA ya ODM pahali unatoka ni nani? Ulizako yeye MCA yako pahali unatoka ni nani? MP ni nani? Na hiyo ndiyo ingekuwa kibarua yetu kubwa kuimarisha chama. Badala ya hiyo wameshikana na wale ambao wanataka kufuruga ODM baada ya kuona kwamba baba ameenda, ndio wanataka chama cha ODM kizambaratike. Lakini sisi tumejitokeza. Tutashikilia chama, tuwe na vyeo tusiwe na vyeo. Tutashikilia chama ya ODM na kusupport hao uongozi ambao wamepewa nadhifa kuweza kupeleka ODM mbele. Hakuna chama vile mmeambiwa ambayo inaundwa kutounda serikali na kusaidia wananchi yake. Na kila chama ina mazungumuzo. ODM imekuwa kwa mazungumuzo kutoka ianzishwe. Kutoka 2005 tumekuwa tu kwa mazungumuzo. Kila ujao tunafanya mazungumuzo. So hauwezi kusema ati sasa ODM ikifanya mazungumuzo iko shida. Hakuna shida. Hata hao wanapanga wenyewe, wanafanya mazungumuzo na watu wengine. Hata kabla baba aende, wengine walikuwa wameshaanza kujiita ati sijui Kenya moja, sijui nini, wanafanya mazungumuzo yao kule. Lakini wanataka wafifishe chama. Ndio waache chama kabla chama haijajipanga vizuri. Kura ni mwaka ujao. Watu sasa wanaangalia vile tutajipanga, vile tutapata watu waingie kwa chama, vile tutapata wale watu ambao wananchi wanatambua. Wewe unataka tu sisi tuongee mambo ya kufurugana. Kila kitu ina wakati wake. Sasa wakati huu ni wakati wa kuunda chama, kuona vile tutaunda serikali. Na sisi ambao tunatembea kwa chama cha ODM, tunataka nyumba yetu ibaki moja na iendelee kukua. Hatutaki kwenda kwa mazungumuzo kama tuna makelele kwa chama yetu. So mimi nitawaomba hapa Kilifi, Pwani, naona mmejipanga vizuri. Na mimi pia nataka kuhakikisha kule mkoa wa Magharibi tutajipanga vizuri. You are going to see that. Hatutakubali kamwe ile nyumba vile tulikuwa tunatembea pamoja kutoka Pwani, Northeastern, Nyanza, Western, unapata ni ODM. Ukienda kwa mazungumuzo, uko na uzito ya kutosha. Hii mazungumuzo ambayo tunasema saa hii. Lakini kuna watu wewe unasema unachangia ODM, na unataka ODM iende kwa mazungumuzo kama hatuna uzito, kama hatuna umoja, na sijui hiyo ni faida ya watu gani ambao unafanya hivyo. So mimi nataka kusema tu watu wa Magharibi, watu wa hapa Kilifi na watu wa Pwani, hongera kwa kushikana pamoja. Na sisi we are not going to be the weakest link. I can assure you. Sisi watu wa kutoka kule mkoa wa Magharibi na Kenya mzima, we are not going to be the weakest link in ODM. Tutasimama kuhesabiwa vile tulisema kwamba we will not be the people to let baba down in his grave. So kwa hivyo, kwa sababu ya muda tungekuwa na mengi ya kuzungumuza, mimi ni kutoa tu hongera Mungaro, asante sana, tuendelee hivyo vile mmeshikana, na sisi pia wale wengine tutaendelea. Gladys Wanga shika, and my Secretary General, Catherine Oman, we shika, I'm behind you there, and I'm bringing more. Utaona wote watakuwa hapa, tutakuwa wapi? Tononoka. All of those people watakuja, tutakuwa na pale mkutano. To show our solidarity na kuonesha kwamba chama bado iko imara na tuna support mazungumuzo ya ODM na UDA ili tuweze kuona mbele inaenda namna gani, na pia tena tutazungumuza na wengine huko mbele. Karibu sana Bwana Mungaro uweze kuendelea hapa. Asanteni watu wa Magharibi. ODM! ODM! Asanteni sana.
Salimiane kwa mikono, mdasindaze. Alikwe Masihi. Ariazomba, salamu alaikum. Kwanza niwashukuru sana viongozi ambao wako hapa. wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wetu Mheshimiwa Gavana wa Homa Bay Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga. Pia vile vile ndugu yangu Tuoma Gavana wa Busia, katibu wa chama cha ODM, kaimu wa katibu Mheshimiwa Umayo, na gavana wa Mombasa ambaye naibu wa kinara wa chama Mheshimiwa ndugu yangu Abdulsamad, Mheshimiwa Kombe, mbunge wa Magarini, Mishi, na wale viongozi wote ambao wako hapa. Wacheni pia nichukue nafasi hii kwa mara ya kwanza toka tuwe hapa baada ya uchaguzi. Mimi niliahidi kwamba nitarudi Magarini, Fuze Fuambehu na Mvera, kwa sababu tulipokuja hapa tuliomba watu wa Garashi wasimame na sisi na wakasimama na sisi. Na nimshukuru sana Mheshimiwa Fondo na ile timu zote ambazo zilifanya kazi hii Garashi. Tulipoanza hii kampeni tuliambiwa Fondo si wenu, Fondo hivi, Fondo vile, lakini alisimama imara na wale wengine wote, na Magarini ndio Garashi ndio ilikuwa namba 1 katika uchaguzi huu uliopita wa by election. Na ndio maana tukasema, niliposema hii safari ilikuwa ianze wiki 2 zilizopita, lakini mwenyekiti na wenzangu wakaniomba, akasema Mheshimiwa Gavana, mkutano wa kwanza tunataka tuwe hapo. Ndio leo mkutano wa kwanza hapa Garashi. Baada ya Garashi wiki ijayo, mimi na Kombe akiweza, kama yuko bunge tutakuwa na yeye, ila akiwa bunge mimi nitazunguka hii Magarini yote kuambia watu wa Magarini asante kwa kunisikiza na kumchagua Kombe kama mbunge. Vile vile niseme kwamba kama alivyoongea kijana mmoja aliyesimama hapa, kwa muda huu Kilifi imetangazwa katika kaunti 24 za Kenya kama kaunti 3 ambazo zimeathirika sana kwa ukame katika Kenya. Imekuwa na ukame wa chakula, imekuwa na ukame wa maji na matatizo mengi ambayo yanatukumba kwa sasa, ambayo ni ya miale ya jua na mabadiliko ya tabia ya nchi. Lakini pia vile vile hapa Dagamra tuna ule mradi ulikuwa umeanza wa irrigation ambao tutakamilisha masiku machache yajayo, lakini hiyo bado haijatosha. Tuko na changamoto, tunaomba wananchi tushirikiane. Najua kuna sehemu zinapata maji hapa Garashi, najua kuna sehemu zinapata, kuna sehemu hazipati, lakini Magarini kwa jumla na Kilifi nzima kwa jumla ina shida sana sahihi ya maji. Kwa hivyo tutahakikisha sisi na kusaidiana serikali ya kitaifa kwamba hakuna, kwanza mwananchi atakufa njaa. Ya pili, tumeanza mikakati mpya kuanzia jana kama kaunti. Tuko na buzaine za maji, lakini kuyapata pia maji yamekuwa shida kwa sababu Baricho uko na shida. Na tutapale tutakapopata tutasambaza. Tumekodisha jana lori zingine 10 kwa ama kaunti kuhakikisha kila mwananchi wa Kilifi kila siku anafikiwa na maji, ili tusipoteze pia watu na kiu ya maji. Kwa hivyo mtatuvumilia, najua kuna shida. Kila mkipata maji kama una mitungi ya jaze, kwa sababu tuko na shida sana hapa Baricho. Najua wengi wenu mnaishi karibu na Baricho, wala wanatoka Baricho hapa. Vile vile tuseme kwamba tukiwa jamii ya Kilifi County, tukiwa viongozi wa Kilifi County, nikiwa gavana wenu, tulikubaliana tulipokuja hapa, tulifanya kampeni ya Kombe kwa serikali ya mseto, kwa serikali ya muungano, na saa hii bado hatujatoka kwa ile serikali. Pale ndio baba alituacha kwa serikali ya muungano, na tunasema tuboreshe zaidi ule muungano, kwa sababu kakuna mutwarie anaunda chama ile akale upinzani. Kila unda ye chama na mala unde serikali jere nujero. Ukiunda chama mala unde noni serikali. Na ODM tumekuwa kwa upinzani sijui miaka mingapi, zaidi ya miaka 20 sasa tumekuwa upinzani, na tunasema si kwamba tunamezwa, tutakaa kwa meza na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ikiongozwa na Mheshimiwa William Ruto, tuseme hii serikali itagawanywa namna hii, ili na sisi tuwe na usemi na tuweze kuleta maendeleo kwa watu wetu mashinani. Na umesikia tayari Mheshimiwa Kombe ametaja ile barabara ya kutoka Sosoni mpaka Baricho. Wiki chache zijazo tutaanzisha ile pale Mjanaheri mpaka Mamburui. mpaka Ngomeni. Vile vile nilipokuwa hapa niliahidi barabara ya Garashi, na najua kandarasi ilichelewa, lakini kabla nije hapa nimeongea na Waziri Philip Charo, amesema ako karibu kumaliza kandarasi. Kwa hivyo nikirudi tena hapa wiki 2-3 zijazo, nitakuja nianzishe barabara rasmi ile ya pale Haroma Tanoni kuza Garashi ya lami. Na nilipokuwa hapa niliandika kwa kitabu changu masuala mengi ambayo tuliambiwa na wananchi wa Garashi, ambao tuyatatua moja mpaka lengine. Sijayasahau yote yale mlianiambia, niliandika na niko nayo. Na hata mheshimiwa anasema, nakumbuka pia kuna msichana mmoja alimwahidi hapa kazi ya fire. Ako wapi yule msichana? Yule msichana yule wa fire. Si yako hapa. Kuna mmoja pia tulimwahidi, hayuko leo, lakini atapoa barua yake pia. Kwa hivyo yale mlioyasema yote wakati tunakumbuka, na huu muda uliobaki tutashirikiana na MCA na mheshimiwa Kombe, tutatue yale ambayo mlituuliza wakati ule. Lengine, najua watoto wamefanya mitihani, kuna watoto bado wako nyumbani. Nashukuru mheshimiwa Kombe kwamba leo umeweza kupeana hundi la cheki kadhaa. Sisi kama county hapa Magarini, wale watoto waliopata grade za kwenda shule za kitaifa tayari tumelipia 180 katika shule za kitaifa, na watasomeshwa mpaka kidato kile cha mwisho. Lakini vile vile kuna wachache nimeambiwa na mheshimiwa hapa Garashi wamebaki, walipati pointi 60 lakini hawakuweza kusaidiwa na county. Pia hao tunaangalia tuone ni vipi county itaingilia kati ili pia walipiwe wawe sawa na wale wengine ambao wamepata shule za kitaifa. Kwa hivyo mimi niko hapa leo, watu wa Garashi, sitaki kuwachosha na hotuba ndefu. Fudirefu ambaye unamvera bakura za kwenu za kumpigira mheshimiwa Garama Kombe wakati fulani kuza ya kura. Fudakubaliana, mnakubali asante ya kwehu? Mnakubali asante ya kwehu? Chanione kwa mikono kala mnakubali asante. Fuzamba ukiza ukitsinza ng'ombe funda tsinda haha. Pala fuzena wari munji sana tukimarigiza tu mndapewa nyosi muyena wari mzindi. Fuzena mhunga munji sana na maharagwe ya. Mndapewa baadaye. Nikarakara. Ala nauza marani auzi atoa Garashi, kwa sababu tunasikizana, tusikizane tumalize. Marani auzi atoa Garashi kwa sababu nyinyi tunawaongoza, haitu sivisho. Nyinyi ndio mlituchagua, haitu sosho. Fudirefu muze fuendere kuzungumuza, haitu kamwenzi masungumuzo atoa Garashi. Tuendelee kuzungumza ama tusiendelee? Tutetee tupate na sisi nafasi kama Magarini na Kenya na Pwani, ama tusifanye? Kwa hivyo mimi nauliza, nione kwa mikono, wasema tuendelee na mazungumzo ili tuunde serikali ijayo. Nione kwa mikono. Asanteni. Vile vile niwaulize, kura ijayo 2027 mna mng'aro ama mna mpango wa kando? Wacha nione wala nasema mng'aro. Na tukimaliza mazungumzo tutakuja tuambie kwamba sisi tulipewa ruhusa na watu wa Garashi tufanye mazungumzo. Ndio rais ajue tuna idhini ya watu wetu. Nikitoka hapa leo nitaenda Kaloleni. Nikitoka Kaloleni tutakuwa Mtwapa na hii timu. Halafu tarudi sote Kilifi nzima tumalize, ili mtupe jukumu la mazungumzo. Zemachero mkamba mazungumza na wangwani hani. Ngarakara. Tumekuja tuwaulize elimsa macho of daumani hani kwenda Sumurira, ili tukiongea tujue tunaongea sauti yenu. Kwa hivyo tutaongea, tutahakikisha tunatetea masuala ya watu wa Pwani na tutawabwaga. Hapa tulikuwa na tabu ya ADC tumetatua na mheshimiwa rais, tumesema wabaki na mipaka yao na kule kwengine kote kugawanyiwe wananchi wa Magarini. Tumekubaliana. Pale Kisiki kulikuwa na matatizo pia, tumesema atatuliwe, shamba irudi kwa watu wa Magarini. Kuna watu fulani walichukua shamba hapa Matolani, tumesema irudishwe ipewe wananchi wa Magarini. Kwa hivyo jameni, tunafurahi kwamba tumekuja Magarini leo kusema asante, hata kama ni muda mchache. Tunawashukuru sana kutoka kwa mioyo yetu kwa kusimama na sisi kumchagua Kombe. Na mheshimiwa Kombe, huu muda ulionao, tafadhali usibwage watu wa Magarini, usibwage watu wa Garashi. Tunakuombea Mungu akupe nguvu, uendelee vile umeanza leo hapa, uzunguke hii eneo lote la ubunge, usaidie watoto waende shule. Na mimi pia nitakusaidia. Hii Magarini tuko na watoto 482 wanasomeshwa na kaunti ya Kilifi katika shule za kitaifa. Tayari 302 katika hao wako kidato cha tatu. Mwaka ujao watakuwa kidato cha 4. Mungu akipenda, ile miaka ijayo baada nikirudi kama gavana, watoto wale 382 nitahakikisha wote wamelipiwa na kaunti chuo kikuu. Tuwe na madaktari, tuwe na mainjinia, tuwe na kila mtu hii Kilifi County. Haiwezekani tukija Magarini wachache ndio wamesoma, wengine wanaachwa. Sisi wenye mamlaka lazima tuwasaidie watoto. Miaka ijayo, mmeona tumetangaza kazi hapa Kilifi mara nyingi. Juzi nitangaza kazi za mainjinia. Najua tuko na mainjinia wengi, lakini bado nikiona tu fulani senzi kuna Kiswahili za makambaza nena makiza ngine akavango manandika mapewe kalafuna wenye. Ndio maana nataka watoto watasimamiwa na county. Wale liwaanzisha form 1 nitawapeleka mpaka chuo kikuu Mungu akipenda. Na nimetengeza sheria tamungaro akaukarero virero kisha bandaendeshwa bafishe chuo kikuu kwa sababu naika sheria taiga vanande kuza baada ya mimi kisha ndatwayo sheria hiyo hapo mashome ngarakara. Kwa hivyo kwa hayo mengi nichukue nafasi hii jameni, kwa unyenyekevu sana nimuite ndugu yangu mwenyekiti dadangu, mwenyekiti wa kitaifa wa chama cha chungwa, na tumekubaliana sio tuko chungwa fuchungwa, tuna mpango wa kando. Wangapi wanasema tuko chungwa? Na hii chungwa watu wengi kwa hii chungwa ni watu wa pwani. Kwa hivyo watu wasituambie hati sisi mtu atatuelekeza kule tutaenda. Sisi ni shareholder wa chungwa katika hii pwani. Na yatakayozungumzwa yoyote kuhusu muungano wa serikali ijayo, lazima pwani itakuwa kwa hiyo meza upande wa ODM ikizungumza na serikali ile ambayo iko kabla tuende kwa uchaguzi. Ili ile yote ya pwani tuyaweke parawanja mezani ili tujue yatatatuliwa vipi tukiunda serikali ijayo. Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga, mwenyekiti wangu na gavana wa Homa Bay, karibu ongee na watu wa Garashi. Na furahi umekuja tena. Wajua ungeomba kura na upotee, ndio nikakwambia tuanze na Garashi leo. Asante. Hawa ndio waliongoza Garashi. Asanteni sana na mberasho Mungu amwase.
Asante sana Gavana Mungaro. Watu wa Garashi mko salama? Mmepokea wageni? Msindadze? Alikwe Jesu? Alikwe Masi? Ache oye! Aluma huo. Tunaona sijasahau hii maneno yote. Na mimi nimefurahi sana kurudi hapa Garashi. Mimi ni Gladys Wanga, mwenyekiti wa kitaifa wa chama cha ODM na pia gavana ya kaunti ya Homa Bay. Na tumeleta salamu ya party leader wetu Dr. Oburu Oginga. Mumezipokea? Wacha nione wale ambao wamepokea salamu za party leader. Niko na maswali machache. Nataka watu 5 tu hapa wajibu maswali. Naona mmekaa sana. Mimi sina mengi, niko na asante na maswali. Kama uko na jibu ya swali, kuja tu hapa. Niko na pesa pia ya kupea kidogo. Ukijibu sawa sawa. Maswali si ngumu, ni rahisi. Kuja mam. Asante mzee. Wa 3 ndio huyo. Wa 4 ndio huyo. Wa 5 ndio huyo. Nianze maswali. Haya, sasa swali la kwanza. Huyu Governor Gideon Mungaro ako na majina 4. Sijui nani anazijua hiyo majina yote. Haya mzee.
La kwanza Gideon, la pili Maita, la 3 Mungaro.
Mmesema yeye ni 2 term. Wacha nione wale wanasema Gavana Mungaro ni 2 term. Nione kwa mkono wale wanamrudisha. Bas. Haya. Hapana, majina tu. Wewe umeshindwa. Mama, 4, majina 4. manne. Majina ni manne. Nani anajua? Haya, kuja wewe. Njoo, nyinyi mbaki tu hapo, baki tu hapo. Wacha abaki hapo. Baki tu hapo. Hapana, wacha yule mama anakuja yule. Baki tu hapo. Haya, we jibu hiyo.
Gideon Maita Mngaro Masha.
Haya, sawa, Masha pia. Hiyo ni sawa. Haya, lakini kuna jina ingine bado natafuta. Njoo mzee.
Gideon Mngaro Maita Simba.
Hapana, Simba ni mzuri lakini si jina. Simba ni ya siasa. Njoo. Sema.
Gideon Siria Maita Mngaro.
Haya.
Gideon Maita Baya Mngaro.
Bas, makofi kwake, yeye amepata mpaka na hiyo Masha yote 2,000 kwake. Wacha niulize maswali mawili ya mwisho. Kuna jamaa amezungumza hapa. Anaitwa Junet Mohamed. Constituency ile ana represent ni gani? Constituency yake. Haya, mzee. Anaitwa Junet Mohamed, amezungumza hapa. Constituency yake ni gani?
Ni
Mohamed. Constituency. Eneo bunge. Anayesimamia.
Eneo bunge ni la sehemu za huku. Madam. Sehemu za huko.
Wacha nimpe huyu.
Sunia East.
Mpe makofi. Amesema Suna East. Hiyo ndio eneo bunge ya Junet Mohamed. Na Abdul Samad amesema anakuongezea 5,000, mimi nimekupa 2,000. Nenda pale uchukue. Swali lingine, mama. Baba Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa amesimamia kiti cha ubunge. Kabla akuwe prime minister, alikuwa na kiti cha ubunge. Ilikuwa kiti gani? Constituency eneo bunge la baba ilikuwa gani? Ya baba Raila Amolo Odinga, eneo bunge lake. Haya, njoo.
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga kabla akuwe prime minister alikuwa mbunge wa Kibera constituency.
Umenoa. Nani anajua? Haya, wewe kuja. Huyu hapa. Ndio huyu.
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa mbunge wa Lang'ata constituency.
Bas, amepata makofi kwake na 2,000. Swali la mwisho. Gideon Maitha Mngaro amezungumza hapa. Akasema kwa wiki 2-3 zijazo kuna kandarasi anatoa kwa barabara ya kuwekwa lami. Hiyo ni barabara gani? Mama wewe sema sasa. Inaitwa aje? Mpe microphone. Ile barabara ambayo itajengwa kwa lami.
Nani hapa? Ya Malindi. Kona ya
Mpatie huyu. Pole. Haya, endelea.
hii ya Mbungale.
Inaitwa aje hiyo barabara?
Tagacha Mbungale. Mbungale.
Inaanza wapi na inafika wapi? Ameita kwa jina.
Tagacha Mbungale. Tagacha Mbungale.
Haya. Sema kwa sauti kubwa.
Tagacha Mbungale.
Amepata? Amekosa. Haya, wewe sema.
Inatoka Sosoni mpaka Baricho.
Sosoni mpaka Baricho. Amepata? Hiyo inaenda kupigwa lami. Bas, 2,000 kwake. Hiyo mambo imeisha. Amekosa. Garashi oye! ODM! Tuko tayari ODM! Asante. Mimi niko na mambo mawili peke yake. Jambo la kwanza ni kuambia nyinyi watu wa Garashi asante sana kwa kusimama na Harrison Garama Kombe. Sisi tulikuwa hapa tukawaomba mumpigie kura Harrison Garama Kombe. Nyinyi mlituahidi ya kwamba mtafanya. Na ahadi ni nini? Ahadi ni nini? Na dawa ya deni ni nini? Nyinyi mlilipa deni. Na sisi tulisema nyinyi tukipigia Harrison Garama Kombe, sisi tutarudi hapa tuseme asante. Tumerudi hatujarudi. Mumetukaribisha. Mimi nataka kusema asante sana kwa Gavana Mungaro, na niseme asante sana kwa MCA wetu Fondo, na niseme asante sana kwa Kombe. Kombe, wewe haujatuangusha. Kwa sababu mara yako ya kwanza kuja hapa hujakuja mkono mitupu. Umekuja na pochopocho pale nyuma, na umekuja pia na pesa ya basari. Ni poa si poa? Ni sawa si sawa? Bas, jambo la pili ambayo nataka kusema. Nataka kusema ya kwamba sisi kama chama cha ODM, tukiwa chini ya baba yetu Raila Amolo Odinga, tumetembea safari mrefu miaka 20. Na hii safari yote tumekuwa katika opposition. Ingawa tumekuwa tukishinda uchaguzi, nyinyi mmekuwa mkipigia baba kura, lakini mwishowe hatujakaa kwa kiti ya serikali. Mara hii 2027 tumeamua ya kwamba kama chama haturudi tena mambo ya opposition na wafuasi wetu. ODM ikifika 2027 itaunda serikali ama itakuwa part of ya coalition ambayo itaunda serikali. Ndio watu wa Garashi, watu wa Magarini, watu wa Kilifi wawe ndani ya serikali na hii mambo yote yao ishughulikiwe. Na sisi tumempea nafasi kiongozi wetu Dr. Oburu Oginga, tukamwambia aanze mazungumzo na vyama ambao viko na fikira sawa na sisi, akianza na UDA ya President William Samoei Ruto. Na tukizungumza na wale wengine pia, na ikishindikana tuende sisi wenyewe. Tuko na nafasi 3. Nafasi ya kwanza ni tuzungumze na UDA. Tukishindwa tuzungumze na wale wengine. Tukishindwa zaidi tuende peke yetu. Sisi tumekuja kuwaomba fursa kwamba vile tumeambia kiongozi wetu Dr. Oburu Oginga aanze mazungumzo na UDA President William Ruto ambaye tuko naye katika broad-based government, aendelee ama asiendelee? Aendelee ama asiendelee? Oburu aendelee ama asiendelee? Tukiwa na hiyo nafasi, tunataka kusema ya kwamba mambo ambayo yanahusu watu wa Garashi na watu wa Magarini na watu wa Kilifi lazima yawe ndani ya ile mazungumzo. Kwanza watu wa Pwani lazima wawe kwa meza. Kwa sababu kama uko kwa meza, uko kwa menu. Hatutaki watu wa Pwani wawe kwa menu, tunataka wawe kwa meza kwa mazungumzo. Na tuko na Governor Gideon Maitha Mungaro, tuko na Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir, tuko na waziri wetu Hassan Ali Joho. Wakae kwa meza ama wasikae? Ya pili, mambo ambayo yanasumbua watu wa Pwani lazima yawekwe pale kwa meza. Mambo ya mashamba, mambo ya security, mambo ya maji, mambo ya mabarabara, mambo ya ukame, hiyo mambo yote iwekwe katika meza izungumziwe. Mnakubali ya mkubali? Na sisi kile ambayo tumesema, tutazungumza na kila mtu, lakini hatutazungumza na wale ambao wanaeneza ukabila, wanaeneza ubaguzi, wanaeneza chuki na wanaeneza kugawanywa kwa Wakenya. Garashi muko? Wale ambao wanasema tumrudishe Mungaro tena atufanyie kazi pale ndani, na wale ambao wanasema huyu Harrison Garama Kombe tuendelee kumshikilia, nione nyinyi kwa mkono tena. Asante sana. Mungu awabariki. Nimualike our deputy party leader Governor Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir. Asante. Na gavana akimaliza, mimi nitawaomba sisi wote tutoke hapa nje, tuje hapa mbele, kwa sababu kuna saluti ya mwisho lazima tufanye, ndio ijulikane ya kwamba Garashi pia wako hapa kwa map na wanaenda na ODM mbele. Asante, karibu sana gavana.
Haya, wana Garashi, hamjambo? Mambo? Mwakumbuka nilikuja hapa na nikaomba kura za chama cha ODM. Na nikawaambia wana Garashi, nyumba ya karibu iko wapi? Hamkunieka nyumba hapa karibu. Lakini safari hii itabidi niwaombe tena. Hapa Garashi sinaweza kupata nyumba na mimi angalau nije nipumzike? Ama sikaribishwi? Sasa mimi nataka niwaambie waungwana wa Garashi. Mnakumbuka kura zilizopita tulikubaliana na tukasema wacha ndege itue ndio tuelewane, sio? Nilikuja hapa na tukaomba kura. Hata huyu ambaye kwamba alikuwa ni wa UDA MCA wenu hapa akakubali kuweza kumpatia support yake huyu ambaye kwamba alikuwa ni wetu Kombe. Wakati zile kura zilipigwa, kama kuna watu ambao wanajua faida ya kuwa na hii broad based, ni watu wa hapa Magarini. Wakati tulipokuwa tunakaa hapa chini, tulikaa na tukapiga hesabu Kenya nzima, maeneo 6. Watu wa UDA wakaamua zao ni hizi, sisi kama watu wa ODM na sisi tukaamua zetu ni zipi. Matokeo yake ya kuwa tuliweza kushinda maeneo yote. Sasa mimi nimekuja hapa, pale nilikuja kuomba kura. Sasa nimekuja hapa kuwaomba watu wa Garashi. Mnakubaliana ya kuwa tuendelee na mazungumzo na chama cha UDA ili tuwe ndani ya serikali ama tuunde serikali mwaka 2027. Wale wanakubaliana na mimi, tafadhalini tunyoshe mikono namna hii. Pili, mnakubaliana ya kuwa tutazungumza na yoyote, lakini watu ambao kwamba walikuwa ni wakabila, hiyo hatuwezi kubaliana na wao, si ndio? Mimi nataka kuwapatia mfano. Waswahili wanasema asiyeweza kushukuru binadamu hata Mungu hamshukuru. Mimi nimesikia watu wengi wakizungumza hapa, wakisema kuna matatizo hii serikali, matatizo hii. Sasa mimi nauliza, suluhisho ya kuweza kutatua matatizo ni kukaa nje na kutusi ama kuwa ndani ya serikali na kurekebisha? Tukiwa tunazungumza na tunasupport mambo ya stadium, hata Moyo alifanya stadium, kwa hivyo hii haifai. Tukiwa tunasupport hii program ya Nyota iendelee, vijana wetu waweze kujipata fedha, waweze kufanya ajira zao, hiyo pesa ni ya World Bank. Hiyo pesa, sasa mimi nauliza, ulienda wewe kule World Bank kuchukua hiyo pesa ama ilikuwa ni serikali imeenda kuchukua hiyo pesa? Ukianza kutia doa katika mipangilio yote, wewe la kwanza la pili ni kuweka doa, wewe la kwanza la pili ni kuweka kasoro. Jameni, sisi huku Pwani tumeamua mwaka 2027 chini ya bendera ya chama chetu cha ODM, mambo ni mawili. Mambo ni mangapi? Mambo ni mangapi watu wa Garashi? Tumesema mambo ni mawili. Aidha tutakuwa ndani ya serikali ama tutaunda serikali. Hii mambo ya kila siku kukaa na kazi yetu sisi kupigwa matiagas, sijui Mungaro akae nje, Abdulswamad akae nje, sijui nani akae nje, hiyo itaisha. Na tumekubaliana kwa kauli moja, hiyo na tumeona formula. Tumeona mfano katika hizi kura zilizopita. walikuwa wanakuja na pesa zao na mambo yao, na sisi tunawatakia kila laheri. Unajua kuna wengine walikuwa wanadhania ya kuwa tunaweza kuharibikiwa na chama kikiwa ndani, lakini mmoja, wawili, watatu hawawezi kuharibu kile ambacho kwamba ni cha mamilioni ya watu. Tunakubaliana mpaka hapo? Na tunawaambia sisi siku ya Jumapili tutakuwa pale Mombasa, na hata hapa Mngaro ameniambia kuna watu kadhaa anakuja nao pale Mombasa kuweza kuweka rasmi mji utetemeke ya kuwa pwani ni OD, na pwani tumekubaliana maendeleo na mazungumzo yaendelee. Si ni sawa sawa namna hiyo? Sasa sisi tukitoka hapa tunaenda kwa Paul Katana, lakini mimi naona kabla sijamaliza tukicheza ngoma kidogo pamoja na watu wa Garashi si mbaya, sio? Tukicheza ngoma si mbaya, sio? DJ tuwekee ile ngoma ambayo kwamba hata hawa waungwana walioko hapa viti vitatikishika kidogo. Oe DJ, tuwekee ngoma moja ya Kigiriama bwana. Na unajua mimi ningeongea Kigiriama, tatizo huyu Junet Mohamed hayajui lugha, ataona tunamsengenya. Weka nyingine ya huko DJ, wacha mchanganyiko. Na ukifanya machezo nitashika mwenyewe mikrofoni niimbe Kigiriama hapa. Niimbe nisiimbe? Niimbe nisiimbe? Bahati yenu MCA ameniambia hapana, ngoja niimbe mimi mwenyewe. MCA njoo utuimbie moja ile ya kanisa ile uliimba pale. Haya. Mheshimiwa. Kuna ile uliimba ile ya kanisa. Watoe watu nje.
Haya, mbalani kwa nikuno kwa Lamu. 1 2 Haya, mbalani kwa Lamu. Haya, msongarani kuno kunyoka kashewari. Mbole wa baba, bola kuno weuze. Mbole wa baba, bola kuno weuze. Haya, mbola DJ lete wimbo. Asongarani kuno. Halafu mkarasa kumbola mzangwa mwende hari hapo akashirwe chakuria. We DJ. Sawa. Dio. Kuna watu wa Mungaro hizo nyimbo hawana kwa simu, lakini ukienda kale hivi vijao ndana. Haya tukane kutaka tena. Kandini. Oe. Haya, mbolani mama hemani muze, mbolani muze. Hola.
Baba, bola. Baba.
Lala.
Bola kuna bola.
Visa.
Bola kuna mus. Wambiremi. Na mala nipe Kigiriama mino we. Wambia mimi nataka kuombe Kigiriama. Na mala nigaluswe.
Haya, asante. Haya, huyu mama amekuja na request yake huyu. Garashi hoye. Azamba huyu mbwa Kigiriama ino hambala niko mahemane. Na mala hugaluzwe. Ndo malao. Na mala ni galuzwe bwana we. Na mala ni galuzwe Jesu he. Haya, mbolani pala mheshimiwa namba mbole konze. Ili watu wakapewe chakula, tuende mbele. Ambolani mhemane, ashika mama.
Namalani galuzwe mimi we. Namalani galuzwe mimi we. Haya, kala kundani
kalakundani galus bwana we kuna faida yani haya we na malani galuzwe mimi we haya na malani galuzwe bwana we kalakundani galus bwana we kuna faida yani we kalakundani galus bwana we kuna faida haya we na malani galuzwe bwana we haya na malani galuzwe mimi we haya kalakundani galuzwe
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view. Next, I set a priority and a due date to keep things on track. I create custom statuses to organize my progress exactly how I want. I like to add the action items field so AI can show me the next steps. I add my teammates as watchers so they're in the loop. ClickUp makes work easy, from personal projects to running a multi-billion-dollar company. Click the link below to create your workspace for free.
Our conversation for Tuesdays is always touching on money, financial matters. Now, we saw the headline and we actually had bites from the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. And this is also actually coming from the draft budget policy statement that was taken to Parliament. Parliament will be looking at that. In this draft budget policy statement, the National Treasury is saying that it's going to have some serious budget shortfall, which is called a deficit. And the Treasury is saying that they hope not to go to look for this deficit outside with external borrowing, which is dollarized borrowing, which fluctuates our currency, depletes our foreign currency reserves, and so on and so forth. They'll come and borrow locally because they'll be borrowing a shilling and they'll be paying a shilling. Okay? And that will be much easier. It's only 1 trillion shillings. One. Surely. In a 15 billion shilling economy, 15 trillion shilling economy. What's 1 trillion borrowed domestically? There's some who are saying that is a big number and there's a big problem. One of them is Joram Wenamo, who is an entrepreneurship and strategy expert, deals with SMEs for a living. Yes. Good morning, Joram.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. As you were just mentioning the numbers, one of the things I was thinking about yesterday is we've gotten to a place, I don't think we know the size of numbers anymore.
No, I mean, we just think about them in terms of digits. Yeah. 1,
yes,
2, 3. What comes after? Whether it's
billion, whether it's 9 zeros,
trillion,
or 12 zeros, and I don't think we then as citizens have any idea what the implications of these numbers are locally.
That's why we invited you.
Yes.
So you can take us through these implications. And because we are mostly a micro and small medium enterprise country, then what that means to all of us hustlers. But first, Jano is going to welcome you with the day's quote. Words that were said by a famous person somewhere.
Okay.
And let's see whether the famous Joram Wenamo agrees with the other famous person.
Okay. Said famous person today is the founding Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, who once said, "A nation does not become successful overnight. It takes discipline, hard work, and honesty."
So the person you mentioned is one of the people that I've studied in the past and quite impressed me with what he did in his country. And so I completely agree with that. And even just breaking it down to simple terms, sometimes I'm driving in Nairobi, I stop at a red light, a matatu comes and passes me, a private vehicle comes and passes me, a police car comes and goes, you know, And I keep wondering, what is our discipline as a country? And do we actually have what it takes to be disciplined as Kenyans? And so I would completely understand why he would say something like that, because right now we are talking about, going the Singapore way.
Right.
But I ask ourselves, do we intrinsically have what it takes to become like the Singaporeans? Because they did not end up there by accident, and they didn't end up there by just declaring and decreeing that they are going to get to Singapore. That discipline was in everything they did, how they manage their economy, how they manage their finances. I think we need to adopt that here as a country to begin that journey.
So for us to go to even begin having that journey to becoming a Singapore, we need to deal with our own selves first.
It has to go down to the individual level. For too long, we've blamed the leaders, but I now think we need to turn the conversation inwards and ask, do we have what it takes to be that kind of person?
So back to the figures. We have a fixer called the Kikombe, who has been sending us videos. And by the way, the Kikombe, you need to continue this series on just educating us what 1 billion shillings is, what it can do. Even just stacking up 1,000 shilling notes, by the time they reach 1 billion, how high that stack is going to be. And we still don't get it.
Sometimes I look at the amounts that are thrown about in terms of, I think the other day I saw that we've built a bridge just here on Gong Road. I think it's 255 meters long. I think we spent 3 billion.
Which one? The overpass at
that junction. And you break that down to what it costs per meter. And for many of the projects that happen in this country, if you actually do that, you keep seeing that we have some of the most expensive rates of construction in the world. You wonder, is it the intelligence of our engineers? Is it our labor that is expensive? How is it that developed countries can build infrastructure at cheaper rates than us, yet we know everything is a lot more expensive? And that's what I was saying. I think as a country, we've gotten to a place where we don't scrutinize what goes into these projects, what goes into the spending and into the figures that are thrown about. And I think they keep getting larger and larger because the people that come up with the budgets have already figured out Kenyans have moved along. They don't understand how much money this is anymore. They're not scrutinizing and realizing that this could go so much further. I think our national debt has now reached about 12 trillion. And even if you just took the cost of the inflated SGR and divide that 12 trillion by that, you ask yourself, where are all those SGRs in terms of development? Where did that money go to? And you don't see it. Like, we could have literally built railways across the entire country, all the way to even Mandera. You could have had that kind of infrastructure. But where is this money disappearing to? Are we actually putting it into productive assets? I don't think so. And that is part of the big problem about this debt. Countries grow on the basis of debt. Just like individuals, we are told there's good debt and there's bad debt. So if you're going to borrow money and spend it on something, make sure you're putting it into something that is going to bring that money back. Are we doing that as a country? I am not sure. If we were to list the projects that we've just gone through as a country in the last 10, 15 years, I'm not sure we would say that it is generating the kind of returns that it should.
It needs to. Before we even get into how it's affecting MSMEs, how does that borrowing show up in someone's daily life?
So part of the reason government keeps getting away with it is that economic matters tend to be very complex. Even when you bring economists to explain these issues, they'll probably use terms that 99% of the population, it will just fly over their heads. But this money, first and foremost, is being borrowed from us. And somebody will have to repay it. And when it's the government borrowing, it's none other than the citizens. And part of what I say is a big structural problem with this country is that when you have majority of your workers feeling like they're outside the taxation bracket and they pay indirect taxes, they're not able to link their direct income to the taxes that are being paid. So you only have 4 million probably out of 19 million workers who are paying direct taxes, and those are the ones who get angry because they can see it comes out of their paycheck. They have no choice but to pay it. The rest of the people working, whether they earn a lot of money or not, but considered informal, they're outside of that tax bracket. And so that lack of a direct connection between the informal worker and the taxes they pay makes them psychologically think that is somebody else's money being stolen. They don't realize it's their own money that is being taken, whether they pay VAT in the supermarkets or whatever it is. They still pay indirectly. But I am a very big advocate. I've been seeing KRA working very hard to make sure everyone comes into the tax bracket. And then I hear a government policy that's going to exclude another 1.5 million people from paying, you know, the taxes that the remaining 2.5 million will be paying. So, of course, these are populist things. Elections are coming next year. So the government is trying to do things to appease people so that they are able to gain favor. But at the end of the day, Kenyans need to realize this is their money. This 11 trillion somebody is talking about, it's the money of the taxpayers today that's going to go back to pay it. I can't remember what interest was paid last year. Was it like more than 500 billion or something on borrowing? That is from our money. And whether we borrow from IMF, World Bank, or whoever it is we Kenyans
still our taxes that are paying the
for
interest.
it. And I think we need to make that direct connection. I wish everyone paid pay so that and had the housing levy and everything taken from their personal money so that they realize that money that is, going missing or being stolen. Yesterday there was a very interesting headline that just put all the different headlines around the scandals that are happening around the country and asking, do Kenyans care? And that's part of the reason they feel like they don't care, because they don't feel like it's their own money, but it's their own money that is actually going into either waste or that we can't tell where it is going.
And you've raised a very, very good angle here, in that whether it's domestic borrowing or external borrowing, the interest being paid is coming from taxes.
Yes.
And the taxes that we generate as has been budgeted for as ordinary revenue.
Yes.
To come in, it pays to cover the budget deficit.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, there's the other side of this question.
Yes.
When, for example, we see the government coming to borrow locally and the local market squeezes the government hard to a corner and says, no, we shall only lend you at 14% or at 18%. And the government then takes that money and repays at 18%. Who's this 18% going to?
First of all, there's a question of who is it being taken from? And
from whom are we borrowing, really?
Who lends the government that money?
Yeah.
And so in most cases, it tends to be people with a lot of capital accumulated in large amounts that can lend that money to the government.
Yeah.
The biggest people who end up doing that are banks. And so I think today you'll find some banks maybe hold even half their capital in these government bonds and the like. So all of your top banks and maybe all of the banks will put some capital together, give it to government. What does this end up doing? There's somebody who pays the price for banks lending the government. And it tends to be the small and medium-sized enterprises, because when the bank takes 250 billion and gives it to government, they don't even need a relationship manager to see whether that money is going to come back. You know, they say bonds are more or less guaranteed. Yeah. And so it is easy money. And if you even just do the math around that, even if the returns were around 10%, a bank is making 24 billion in profits without lifting a finger. And what does that do? Of course, it will disincentivize them from now going back and giving loans to the millions of small businesses that are there. And that's because they are perceived to be risky. You have to get a lot of people to manage all these millions of people to make sure that the repayments are happening, to make sure that you're doing the due diligence. It's a lot more work to lend to SMEs than it is to lend to government. And so eventually what ends up happening is that the money goes to government keeps repaying it, at whatever rate. At some point we had a scare that there was going to be defaults, but that hasn't happened today because they'll always prioritize and make sure that that payment is made. But what ends up happening with the banks and financiers, they don't have any incentive whatsoever. Sometimes they don't even have the capital to lend the SMEs themselves because it's all been given to government. And so the productive parts of the economy end up being starved of cash. The SME needs money to buy stock. Right. They need money to buy equipment. They need money to do this, that, and the other. But if the bank itself is not incentivized to lend that SME, then that SME ends up not, investing in equipment, investing in stock and everything, and they end up making less money. Yeah. And when these people are in the millions, it ends up making their whole economy much less productive. Right. That SME now, because they are making less money, they cannot borrow, they cannot grow. They're hiring less people. They're maybe cutting jobs because they cannot, finance that growth. A lot of SMEs end up being pushed to very expensive mobile loans because that, or loan sharks, that ends up being the only source of money they can get. I think you hear how a lot of those stories end up, sometimes people end up even committing suicide because they cannot, repay these loans and that kind of thing. So there's almost no positive outcome of this whole aspect of banks lending government and then crowding out. That's what the term crowding out means. It means the SME is pushed out of the banking system because the bank cannot be able to lend them. Maybe they'll just lend big corporates and people who they feel will be able to repay the loans. But the SMEs, it becomes a downward spiral in terms of productivity to the economy. That's what happens.
As you're talking about just drawing this cycle, the Kasako. So government raises money through taxes. Taxes from citizens. Citizens are either individual or corporate. So an SME is a citizen. It pays tax, income tax.
Yes.
It has employees who pay income tax.
Income tax, yeah.
So SME needs to thrive so that it can pay tax and needs to employ so that the employees can pay tax. Gives money to the government. That money that the government receives is not enough. It wants to bridge a gap. Government goes to bank, borrows from bank, gets money from bank. Bank does not give money to SME.
Yes.
So SME starts collapsing.
Yes.
Government needs SME and the employee to give money to it so that it can repay the bank.
Yes.
At some point, the math stops.
Because, if the SME and the employee don't have money to give the government the tax, the government does not have any other money with which it can repay the bank loan.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So then?
So it becomes a downward spiral, and sometimes even the way you've described it, it sounds like the SME is the enemy of government or something.
At some point,
because there are additional things that have happened where, government has also done projects, and you have this thing called pending bills. And it's that same SME that probably did that government project, borrowed from bank, to finance some project where they end up not being paid.
Yep.
And so if you look at the policies that are usually set around the SMEs, you ask yourself, even if we talk about a bottom-up economy or whatever kind of policies it is, does the government really care about small, medium-sized businesses in this economy growing up? And you look at developed economies, yes, they might have the big companies, the big tech companies and all sorts of things, but majority of what keeps those economies going is small and medium-sized enterprises that have been given policies to support them, that have been, have access to financing and all these ways of growth. But here, you kind of see policies that tend to work against them. I'm an SME owner myself, and every time you hear an announcement from government, now we have to start paying housing levy, now we have to start paying this, you have to pay. So you're left with a choice of, will my employees still earn the same thing? If they are to earn the same net at the end of the day so that they maintain their lifestyle, it means you're increasing their salary. But where is that money coming from if the money is not circulating in the economy because the other SMEs are not able to borrow and grow themselves and create the jobs and that kind of thing? So you find like I said, we are getting ourselves into a downward spiral. If you actually look at what is called private sector credit growth, CBK tracks how much private sector borrows from banks as an aggregate, and that figure has just been going down and down and down every year. And it's almost synonymous to every announcement made by how much government is going to borrow locally. Right. And so there's a direct correlation, because the more that number keeps going up, the more the capital is sucked out of banks into government, because it's, you know, it's safe lending. Why would I go the route of doing a lot of hard work to make money when I can meet my targets very easily by lending government?
A lot of this is landing alarmist to me. I'm the kind of person who it's not a you thing.
Yes.
You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about at what point does it become almost a point of no return? Realistically, what does the economy look like in 12 to 18 months? Realistically, what is happening now to MSMEs that in a year or two will almost kind of get them to breaking point? That's kind of where my mind is. So I know we're going into a break, and I want you to comment on that a little bit.
Okay.
But you've mentioned something about policies, the policies that are not friendly for MSMEs to thrive. Do you think it's a policy shift that could also play a role in just giving some reprieve, or does it have to be a policy shift and like several other things at the same time?
I think there's a couple of things, but if we're just to go back to this whole interest rate things with banks, we actually have historical context of how well it can work in Kenya. It goes back to the year 2002, 2003, right. Where our interest rates actually went back to between 2 to 3%. That's the time Kibaki said, we're going to collect taxes and we're going to pay for, everything in government from the money that we borrow. That's when, our tax collection started to go up.
Yep.
And I think you guys are old enough to remember, banks were hawking loans.
Yep.
Finally, they realized if we cannot make the money from government, let's push it out to the people who can now borrow and pay back. And whether it was salaried employees or MSMEs, at that point, there's a lot of money that was pushed out to the private sector. And what happened in the next 5 years plus, there was just, people felt there was money circulating in the economy because businesses were able to borrow, import machinery, build up on 1, 2, 3 things. The economy became very productive and we saw an expansion of the economy. So of course there's many other policies that could be done, but I always think this is the core one. And they've tried. I think we are down, I think there's a monetary policy committee sitting today and there's hopes that we will go down to 8.5%.
Banks wanted to be retained.
But compared to 2-3% that was there before, because at this 8.5%, they could still lend government and make decent profits from that. But we need that to go a lot further below.
Let's take a short break. I can see 1 or 2 people are also chiming in, so we'll come and see if we can share those. But we're hosting Joram Winamo, entrepreneurship and strategy expert, talking about domestic borrowing and its impact on the economy. It's coming up to 8:30. We'll continue that conversation in just a moment.
Oh, a lamp.
Stop it, I'm ticklish. You have released me, Aladdin. In return, I'll grant you 3 wishes.
I'd like to be as smart as a fox, as strong as a bear, and fly like an eagle.
Oh, flying too. Then you need Red Bull, the energy drink.
Red Bull gives you wings. Bye-bye, Dini.
Oh, and who grants me wishes?
You stay here. Try Pure Active, the #1 anti-pimple cleanser with salicylic acid and charcoal to reduce pimple-causing germs.
We're back in conversation with Joram Winamos. A bit of feedback. Lenny De Steve says the government intention is the citizens to lose focus on the financial building by indirectly squeezing the economy and then drum up for hope in development, and then after elections to Oneki Vumbi. He has drawn a pattern. It's like somebody else says here, even the day the president was announcing the austerity measures, there was wastage of government funds at State House. How can we be taking 2 million shillings tea daily and then think of 4 billion to curb hunger short term?
Wow.
The bridge cost 12 million per meter. That's insane. We're not serious as a nation. Wastage and thieving are way for life for us. Okay, so again, this is just people feeling it very personally. It feels like a personal, because you almost feel a sense of, you don't know how to plan. You don't know how things will move. People are saying money isn't circulating. So people are beginning to feel it. But of course, we're also now looking at MSMEs. So that's the conversation that we're getting back into.
Yeah. And just to tease that we'll be linking up with Mariam Bishar, who is at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in a short while, where the president is there to launch ZD Trader, a new platform by Safaricom, Castrol Capital, and the Nairobi Securities Exchange, where you can buy, sell shares directly via M-Pesa. That's what's happening there. We'll be linking them up with them shortly. So, Joram, with all these things that you've told us, the government is coming and borrowing and crowding us out. Okay. So, what are the options? What do you want the government to do?
I think, like I mentioned, there's a lot of options. On the one hand, if we're going to borrow money, can we put it into productive use? Can we be accountable about where this money is going? Can we procure infrastructure and development at cost rather than super inflated? Because I think we can see a project announced where an initial study was done, it's 90 billion, and then contract is cancelled, people are paid for contract cancellation upfront, and somebody else is given the same contract at double the amount, and then you're wondering, it's the same road, what has changed? You get some vague explanation as to, things have changed here and there, but the same, infrastructure ends up being built. And so if we're going to borrow, let it not go into waste. Let's be accountable around where it is going into. Let's put it into something productive. We're building a stadium, which I hear is at astronomical rates of, eventually we will end up paying something like 145 billion. Is that the most productive way we could have spent that kind of money? Or could we have put up maybe a stadium in even every county or something at a much more reasonable rate and, spread out that kind of development? And so that's one challenge on the side of, if we're going to borrow, let's put it into something productive. Let's not be wasteful. But if we're coming back to supporting MSMEs, there's quite a bit that has happened around that space. I talked about pending bills. Can those be paid so that, people are able to keep their businesses afloat and continue running? What is going on at Senate is very interesting, where now governors are saying they are being witch-hunted for being held accountable for how they are spending money. So something about our national psyche needs to change around this whole accountability thing. But also, when you look back the last 10, 15 years, there's also quite a number of funds that are purportedly set aside to support MSMEs. Go back to Youth Fund, Uwezo Fund, Hustler Fund. There was a KIEP fund. Today there is Nyota. How are these funds spent? Are they just dished out as a political tool to keep people appeased? Is there actually, I think the audit that was done around the last World Bank loan that we borrowed to fund MSME programs, there was quite a bit of money there that could not be accounted for, and impact and that kind of thing. And so we could put very deliberate policies, because yes, MSMEs need financing, and it is great that they could be financed. But are we financing the right ones? Are we financing the most productive ones? Are the programs that we are doing around this working? So for everything is just scrutiny, because I think one of the things we've not talked about is lack of money. We've not talked about the money not being there. There are trillions and trillions of shillings that the government has been able to spend on one thing or another, but the question is, what is it being spent on?
It's the lack of access. So what basically you're saying is that SMEs need to realize that one of the reasons why you're not able to thrive is because you don't have access to affordable capital. It's because the government is in the same pool, competing with the same money as you. And so you should be asking the right questions. And if you ask the right questions, then the government will have the right, will start thinking of the right answers and doing the right thing. And then that may reduce the deficit, which means that they don't have to come to the market for the kind of money that they're coming for. So it's vigilance. It's on our part. Okay, what else?
Like we talked about, if I hope the trend of reducing interest rates continues. It seems like a deliberate policy. From where I come from, and people who know me who will be surprised about this, I say it is probably the only thing that I think government is doing right. And
that you see one thing, people are shocked.
At least one thing. I'm not blanketed across the board in terms of how the government has tried to manage our fiscal policy. Some of it is unexplainable. Why the dollar has been at 129 consistently is something that is magic I cannot explain. And I would love somebody to explain to me how that is is being done, because if you look at the other currencies, they are continuing to grow in value the same way they always have, but this one thing has stuck there. So at least that is one area where they're trying, but it would be good if that trend would be able to continue downwards. But the thing is that when you have such a huge deficit and you're planning to borrow locally, the temptation would be that to attract that capital, you have to keep that interest rate at a place that it remains attractive to the capital owners. And then I'd say across this entire countries, you have a lot of MSMEs that are very diligent. In fact, you had asked me the question of how are they coping. You have to look at it in the context of, we came from COVID, we had an election, it seems like the economy is beginning to take off now as it should have in maybe 2023 because of all those delays of what people had been through, COVID and elections and all sorts of things, like double tragedy happening all at once. I think SMEs have just learned to become extremely resilient. Yes.
Which nobody feels like being resilient.
Which I don't know if it's a good thing. I think if people are less resilient, there'd be pushback for more accountability and for better policies. But that's what Kenyans have just learned to do. Those who are able to grow and somehow, get beyond our borders, I actually know quite a number of entrepreneurs who their focus is, can we just grow our businesses outside Kenya and stop with this madness that's happening in this country? But how many people have access to that kind of opportunity? It's very few.
Private solutions to I know we're about to wind up, Joram. I think the quick question I wanted to ask you may have touched on it, but give us a snapshot of how this has gone wrong in some places and how this has been rectified. Because I was saying in the break, it's alarmist, but obviously other markets and other countries have gone through this. So where has poor navigation landed a country to the pits, and where has a country been able to lift or support MSMEs to the point of thriving again? So just two very quick scenarios as I figure out where we lie.
I think in terms of where it does not work, around the world you've seen protests flaring up all over the place, and it's actually almost a global thing that when the populace feels pushed to a place where they cannot take it anymore, they cannot take the injustice, they cannot take, the fact that they can see the rich getting richer and they themselves, nothing is growing at that level. It gets to the place people even chase the president out of State House and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the apocalyptic scenario. But the turnaround scenario is... And can I think of any recent examples globally, actually? I think, because we keep talking about the entire world, and I'm sometimes I sit with people from the West and I'm saying Africa is like this, and they're like, sounds like you're describing our country. It's almost become a global thing to have autocratic leadership that just does whatever it wants. And so it could be a challenge that democracy is at some kind of crossroads. But I think if you historically look at countries that deliberately put policies in place to support MSMEs, US and Germany are two good examples. You find there's a lot of programs around getting MSMEs to access credit. First and foremost, they already have low interest rates where people can just borrow and be able to repay without feeling the pressure from that. But there's additional programs. You have something like the Small Business Administration in the US. I think it's a similar version. It's called the Mittelstand in Germany. And they have both access to softer credit for businesses that are starting from zero. You have policies that give people leeway before they start to pay taxes and, give them some breathing room, especially at the startup stage. You have specific programs. One of the challenges of this country is that when we borrow, we contract foreigners to do those projects. And then they hire some token Kenyans. And it's basically crumbs going to, the laborers that are doing those kinds of projects. Why aren't you contracting Kenyan companies? Same thing for things like software and, industrial machinery and those kinds of things. There are countries that have very deliberate policies, or if you're going to do this kind of thing, you're going to work with local companies. And if you're going to be a foreign company that's going to come and work locally, you're going to make sure you partner with a local company. So that way you're both building your capacity locally and you're making sure a lot lot of the money stays locally. But for a lot of the current projects, again, if we are to list them and who's carrying them out, they're not Kenyan companies doing those projects. And sometimes I think it's by design, because it's very hard to scrutinize, again, foreign companies and how they're repatriating money and that kind of thing. If it was a local company, you know, KRA could be able to look into their financials and tell what's happening and how much they've made from that kind of thing. So this and others, and it's just a thing of being patriotic and saying that we are looking to build ourselves first before we open up. I always say we open up red carpets for foreigners here before we open it up for the locals. Who are the ones who are slaving and who will be here. The foreigners will flee if something goes south. But we who are here are the ones who need that kind of investment and red carpet treatment.
It's a really good place to...
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. And like Joram, you've said, if we don't start to connect, then we will always be in this kind of hole. We have to expose ourselves to knowledge. And then start engaging with that knowledge and asking the right questions. And yes, if government continues doing what the government is doing, then there's a greater effect on our own livelihoods, because you are not able to then get employment, because there are not many companies that can afford to operate in this kind of environment. So you'll not get jobs, which means that you will not be able to live your life, which you can't even pay taxes. There's something new that's happening at the Nairobi Securities Exchange today. It's called ZD Trader, which is being launched, where you can now trade directly, buy, sell shares directly from your mobile phone. This is an initiative by M-Pesa, Kestrel Capital, and the NSE. This is where Mariam Bishar has been all morning, and the president is there to launch this, but Mariam wants to talk to a few people and let us know what's been going on. So it's a new one. It's like the one... Joram, where they started up with trading. You can now buy and sell your bonds on your mobile device. This one, you're buying and selling now shares on your mobile device. But Mariam is there. Mariam, good morning. You are looking like the main investor.
I'm telling you, looking moneyed. I don't know that she can hear, but yeah.
That's a very good thing that we are seeing there from Mariam and the people that she's just talked to. The launch of this ZD Trader for lower than 20 bob, Jano, you can start trading on the NSE. You know, Joram, we were talking about, even when we had the same thing with the bonds, it was such a big thing for Kenya, and now this one as well. What's the impact that you see with the SMEs?
So this particular one will help mobilize capital towards the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I think it's an opportunity, and I've seen them trying to encourage especially more SMEs. While they've had the GEMS segment, other than Homeboys and a few others that have done private placements. So it is an avenue for SMEs that are ambitious to grow, to mobilize capital. And I think with more education, a lot more of that can happen. Maybe I should think about listing my company. But that's it.
But thank you, Joram. We have to have you back again. I think you've shared some incredible insights. We'll tease a little bit of what's expected on your world in the next hour. It's marriage and living apart together. That's going to be at 10. But right now, from me, Janet Bogwa, from Eric Latif, here in studio, we're crossing back over to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, where Mariam Bishar came to us live. President of the Republic of Kenya is now speaking there, so we'll cross over and listen into his remarks.
MC Jesse. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. How are you doing?
Very well.
Good to see you, Janet.
Good to see you,
Jesse. Been a minute.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but I see you guys on TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
We see you on socials.
We see
you see me on social media.
Very actively on socials. And we'll get into it. I saw you on another continent. Then we saw you in status. We're like, hey, Jesse. It's called range. Amesema, I have range.
We welcome you every day where, you watch the show. So it always begins with Jano giving the guests the day's quote.
Yes, today's quote is by Steve Allen, also somebody who was a broadcaster, a comedian, a radio presenter, and he once said, radio is the theater of the mind. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Because when you listen to radio, as a listener, you're listening to people you've never seen. Yeah. Okay, unlike nowadays, because of social media, you're able to see the radio presenters. But before, you just used to imagine how they used to look like. And then they create scenarios in your mind. And then you put that scene in your mind kivyako too. Like now, if somebody, for example, if it's Nation FM and somebody's talking about, my mother. So you can't see the person, but their mother, you create your own version of their mother in your mind.
Yeah.
So you create your own theater in your mind about the person talking.
Proper theater of the mind.
Completely.
I know we'll get into, arts and politics and everything that you're doing now, but reflect with us around your own radio journey very briefly. How long were you in radio, and what has it done to allow you to even do what you're able to today in life?
Well, thank you, Janet. For me, I was on Hot 96. Hot 96, that's the other side, ni maadui wenu. Our Royal Media Services. I was on Hot Breakfast. I used to host a morning show with a lady called Monique Angeline. So when I was called to go on radio, I was still doing Churchill Raw and Churchill Show on NTV. So they called me to go and do radio there. And I think that time that station wasn't doing so well. So when they called me, I felt honored that I'm called to uplift a station that wasn't doing so well. So when we went there, of course, ikashika, ikaanza kupanda, ikasonga, and then I left. And I enjoyed my time on radio. I used to love going on radio. I still miss radio, by the way. I miss radio a lot because radio is where you do all what you want. And you can imagine with today's generation, what you can say on radio. And nowadays you do radio and you can also be seen doing radio. So I enjoyed myself on radio. We did breakfast. I used to love waking up at 5 a.m. And then, do you know why I resigned? I resigned when I met. Nilikuwa naingia 5 a.m. in the morning. Nini erikuna cheka.
It's like kuna story anajua.
The comedian is coming. Kama unajua hii story. So imagine what I did there. I used to wake up in the morning at 5. I never used to live far from Raw Media Services. So within 10 minutes, nilikuwa nishafika job. So nafika 5 by 5:20 hapo, 5:30, I'm in the studio. I'm reading the newspaper. I'm checking what is in the news. Alafu naanza show 6. Namaliza 10. So one day I left at 9:30, thereabout, on a Friday. Tulikuwa tunatoroka kazi. So it's radio, unaweza hepa. So when I was leaving, I met my boss with a new Range Rover. Yeah? KBX 499. Sitasema hiyo ingine. Washira Waruru. Ameingia na brand new Range. And then he used to report at 10 a.m. every day. Alikuwa na BMW X6. Now ameuza. Now he has a new Range. He shows up at 10. And then it's Friday. He might leave even at 1. He won't come back. I'm like, nikamsimamisha kwa gate. And he's my boss. Nikambe, excuse me, sir. You just got a new car. And you report at 10. Unatoka 3. And he's like, Jesse, what's wrong with you? This is not comedy. Kambia pana, where are you getting that money from? And I'm the boss here. Nikambe, it's okay, but mimi naingia 5. Natoka 10. Kichwa imechoka. And then I go to sleep. Na unanua Range Rover na sina. Nikambe, you know what? You'll have to tell me how to get a Range Rover. So he invited me to Chaka Ranch. I think we were with you that time. Yeah, tulikuwa na jana. Sitasema mingi. That's kitambo. So we went to Chaka Ranch. Tukaenda, akanionyesha kwake and all that. It was starting. Akaniambia, this is why I do my business. Akaniambia, so you are not just a boss. you have your own business? Akaniambia, yes. Kambia, I'm going to start a business. So I decided to become a businessman inside the media industry. So even when we were doing Churchill Show and all that, I opened a company that used to sell Churchill Show. Nikaanza biashara, then I resigned.
Okay.
Nikaenda nikamwambia, now, I told you within 3 months I'll resign.
This is it.
Radio. So I left radio at the peak of, you know, success of 196. Nikaenda kufanya biashara. Ndio ninunue Range Rover.
Sasa kuna ngapi?
Range Rover? Moja, lakini I think ni ya pili from the first one. I had a KCG 944R. Don't worry, I'm a Luo by living. But many Meru. So yeah, but I fortunately was able to you know, focus and actually make some little money in
and move into that.
And I've never gone back.
And you're basically exercising your creativity, but monetizing your creativity.
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yes.
Because you saw you've got talent. Talent landed you on these platforms, on Churchill, on radio, and now also talent took you into business.
Yes. So even my business was around entertainment and content. So when we were doing Churchill Show here, we came and spoke to the boss, NTV, and we requested to co-sell the show. So personally, I was in charge of outreach, going outside the Nairobi, the counties, or meet the politicians, the MPs, the governors, to ask them for money for Churchill Show. I brought Philips International, I brought a lot of people on Churchill Show. And you see, they used to pay to my company, and then I pay Churchill. So sikuwa nangoja nipe mshahara. So that is where now it started. But ilianza hapo kwa
Uliona
Range Rover ya Washira Waroro.
Ilianza na kuhepa job.
9:30.
Supposed to leave work after 10 a.m.
Right.
Yes.
And here you are leaving work at 9:30.
Yes.
And then you manage to confuse their boss that he doesn't notice you are actually leaving work before time by engaging him on an important conversation.
Yeah, I didn't want to be fired.
So you negotiated. It's smart.
Yeah,
It's
I negotiated.
Yeah.
So I started the business.
It's been cunning. It's completely been cunning. No wonder you're now in politics.
Yes. Which I know we're skipping, and we'll go back and forth throughout this conversation. But when we were speaking earlier at the beginning of this program today with Eric and Mariam, some critics say that when people who have a background in comedy enter politics, they don't have the social issues depth. So they don't have depth. They don't bring depth to politics. They either water it down or don't quite understand. How do you respond to that? And maybe even let's go back briefly, tell us why politics, and then defend yourself against the critics who are like comedians and politics should just never mix.
Well, people will always be there to give opinions, all right? And I ride with a quote in my life that nothing can stop me from whatever I've imagined to do. Hata Biblia inasema, whatever your mind has imagined to do, nothing can stop you from doing it. So people actually, and I've seen not only comedians, but artists, some artists, they've gone to politics and they actually didn't perform so well. And some of them wametoka, wengine bado wako. There are some that are doing quite well. KJ, I think comedians are really good at it. KJ is doing so well in Dagoretti, and in parliament unaonanga akiongea. Of course ingine anaongeanga vitu zingine.
In fact, Mariam isn't here. She would have been like, wait.
Doing so well. There are some that he talks even for me I don't agree with.
Yeah, around Mandamano especially.
Yeah, and especially around Mandamano. No. I think me siku agree na yeye. I'll say that outrightly.
Okay.
But comedians being in politics, and for myself, sijaingia. Judge me when I get there, because I believe each person is an individual. Umeenda pale, maybe you have your own interest. Maybe you use comedy to get there, but when you got there, you are not intending to do anything. Maybe it was self-gratification. Maybe you had said, by the time I'm 40, I want to be a member of parliament. By the time I'm 50, I want to have bought houses in Karen. So you think politics is a way to do it. But for me, mine actually is driven with the desire to try and change the creative industry. I believe I came into the industry entertainment industry when it was so analog, and then we moved to digital. In fact, that time the Communication Authority of Kenya paid us to move the conversations of tumetoka analog to digital. When the media houses didn't want to go, but we were pushing for it because we also saw the opportunity. What we're having now, we saw it before even other people were saying it, because we knew we would make money on digital. And the media houses wanted to remain analog because the cake, advertising, was going to be shared with us directly, because we have now the numbers. When Instagram came, they approached us when we were doing the show at Carnival. They were like, these are the most popular guys in the country, so we're going to ask you to push for us that app. Facebook, the same thing. So we decided to push digital. We knew digital before it actually happened. So CAK used us to move from analog to digital that time with the late, I think, Wangusi. So we were there, we saw it. So for me, I've seen the transformation of the creative sector from digital, from analog to digital. I've been there for quite a while now, and I know the kind of money that people are making out there. I've traveled to different countries, and mostly when I go there, I study about the creative industry in that particular country, and people are making a kill. Can you imagine in Kenya, we are paid only like 150,000 shillings for 1 million views, and it will depend with your audience. If I'm there, if my show, my channel gets 1 million, it'll depend. Awa ni kina nani watch.
The quality of the audience.
Quality of the audience. If it's university students, of course, the money will be less, because products like products that are supposed to be advertised for these young people are not as many as the ones that are going to be advertised to people like Eric and you. Nyinyi mnataka hizo property ndio zina advertise hapo. Big companies, banks want you. So mostly they'll advertise on my page. And imagine my page being like one of the best, nitapewa 150,000 per 1 million. Whereas in America, 1 million is equals to 800,000. So now you can imagine mtu mwenye akona 10 million views times 800,000. That's 8M per month. Sisi hapa Kenya. So we need to change some of these policies. And I realize I cannot change them when I'm outside. So let me try and push. That's why you see me sometimes when I was in state, I was pushing for it. Tulikuwa hapo na president. I get an opportunity to talk to the president. So what do I tell him? I tell him, my brother. Oh, sorry. Meet a president to my brother. Namwambia my friend.
My brother. It's okay.
My friend. My friend. Nikamwambia, Your Excellency, tuko na shida hapa kwa creative sector. Okay? These are my proposals. These are the things I always think about. We can streamline the creative industry. In Tanzania, they have a ministry. Inaitwa Wizara ya Sanaa. If you go to Nigeria, their policies about payment for creative sector is different from Kenya. Sisi yetu iko tu azi. It's like creative industry yetu ni like prostitute. Anybody anakuja anaingia.
Wacha niulize lakini
no, the industry, not people.
I'm trying to not even look at Jano because I can see her nostrils flaring. Don't, Jano, just hold it.
Sawa. Well, tutaongea nyuma ya tent. Yes.
I see, and you're making a lot of sense in what you're saying, in the advocacy for the creative sector, right? And doing that already, that's playing politics, because you're using the platforms that you have, the influence that you have access to the president, you have access to the cabinet secretaries, to politicians, to members of parliament to do that. Must you be inside parliament to move it? Because you're already doing that. Even if you go to parliament, you'll have to lobby the other 348 members to agree with you, to vote with you. But you can lobby them from outside.
I agree with you. I don't need to be a member of parliament to push it. I don't need to. Okay? I don't need to. But now, I have to.
Why?
Why? Because if you call the head of State House Projects and Digital Economy, Dennis Itumbi, if you invite him here, he will tell you that there's a bill in parliament about my proposals. This is the 4th year that bill has been sitting in parliament. Okay? It has been discussed. There's a bill, there's a creative economy bill. That is the answer that always comes. And I know about it. I know about the bill. And I know for sure, if I go around, because we have the Digital Content Creators Association of Kenya. I'm one of the founders. So we know very well, if I ask members of the Digital Content Creators Association of Kenya about that bill in parliament, some of them have no idea. So, did they participate in creating the bill, in drafting the bill? You get what I mean? Maybe there are some that participated, but are they part of the core members of the creative economy? That is one. Number two, why is it still sitting in parliament? It should have moved. We've seen other bills being signed into law. We've seen other things that have gone into parliament and they've been discussed. Mbio, within no time, zinasainiwa, zinakuwa law. Why is this one still sitting there? Ama tunangoja tuimbie happy birthday. You get? Is it that there's a maturity that it needs to get to? Is it that it hasn't gone through the whole process? Who is behind it? Who is pushing it to make sure we get a success of it? So I'm not seeing anybody concerned about the creative economy bill that is in parliament. It's always in parliament. It's being discussed. We are not seeing it. So you can imagine, Eric, I'm passionate about the creative industry. For sure I am. What if I was in parliament?
I don't know.
Would it be sitting there?
I don't know.
No, it wouldn't.
Possibly so.
No.
Because I want to ask you, so why has it not been prioritized by the House Business Committee? Because that's where it is. It's House Business Committee prioritizing it.
Yes.
So you already know the office where it begins. You think that just by merely being a member of parliament, you'll be able to influence the House Business Committee?
Do you know the functions of the member of parliament? Do you know how much power he has to influence the committee?
Oh, that's what they say on paper. And then they tell you once they go in there, which I'm basically preempting the conversation that you're going to have with us here in 2028.
Yes.
You see, in parliament, there's structures. This is what members of parliament, I'm sure, have also told you, that there are so many bills that are in the pipeline.
Yes.
That need to be discussed at the House Business Committee.
Yes.
And they are overtaken by other special interest bills.
They are overtaken by other
special interest bills. And the special interest comes from outside of parliament.
Executive. Right? The president.
Yes.
Now ask me why I would want to be close to the president.
So is it the president or inside parliament?
When you're inside parliament
and you're close to the president,
and maybe you push the agenda of the president. You're not anti, you are pro. Possibly he'll listen to you. Possibly. And then if you're really, really passionate about a thing, and if that particular issue is in his manifesto, he's going to do it. He's going to ask the majority leader to push, vile umesema overtaken, to push that bill to a bit, ikuje haraka. There are many ways to skin a cat.
So vile uliongelesha rais na Itumbi.
Yes.
Have they talked to Kimani Ichung'wah?
They will, hopefully. I hope so. If they don't, I'll be in parliament in 2027.
Okay, so if you're in parliament and you're talking to Kimani Ichung'wah as another member of parliament, as a backbencher, let's remind you that you'll be backbencher.
I will be a backbencher.
And you're Range Rover yako. Backbencher, right? And Kimani, if Kimani is, whoever is the leader of majority in the parliament, in that parliament, you will still have to convince this guy, and you'll still have to go to whoever is in State House to try and convince him to talk to this guy.
The majority leader.
Yeah.
Yes, I will do it.
And what if you get frustrated, what will you come and tell us?
I'll come back to you.
And tell us what?
Tuongee hapa, because there are many ways I've said of skinning a cat. You can use public outcry. And now you see, the other bit is this. We have formed the Digital Content Creators Association of Kenya. So you can use the association also to advocate for it. Because right now, kitu hatuna ni mtupia kutusukumia. You get? Every place we go. Dennis Itumbi, for example, if maybe he was a member of parliament, maybe he would have pushed because he's the head of content creators. You get? Maybe you would have pushed. Maybe right now where he is, he's incapacitated maybe to do what you're talking about in parliament. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he can tell us. Maybe he's not able to really push in parliament. Maybe because he's not a member of parliament, or maybe he's not a political leader, elected leader, he's an appointed person of the president. Maybe he's not really able to push. Maybe when he talks to the president has other issues to do. Nyota, affordable housing, the things that he has put ahead of whatever he wants to accomplish. You get? Maybe he's not able to push it. Actually, I think if maybe he was a member of parliament, it would have been easier if he was interested.
Maybe.
However, maybe. I'm saying maybe.
It's a lot of speculation.
Speculation. But if you ask me, JC, I will try my best. I won't say I will do it. I will try my best because it's something I know. To Kitoboa, the content creators will be able to make more money than they're making right now. Usione watu wako wana floss magari, manyumba online, then you think that's the reality. Sometimes they are paid to do that. You get maybe a yard is paying you to sell the cars. You can't go there and start, sitting on demios. Of course, they'll give you their best
unless
car.
that's what you're selling.
Yeah, unless that's what you're selling. So instead of that, they'll be able to do kuishi maisha ya ukweli. I thank God I've been, lucky enough to travel to different countries to see, and I've met other creatives from other countries. Bro, we are broke. We are broke creators. Si tuna mchezo sana. Can you imagine? Mimi mwenye ningekuwa US sahi, tungekuwa tunapigana na Kevin Hart. Tungekuwa rivals. Maybe ningekuwa naambia Steve Harvey, what are you talking about, man? Maybe tungekuwa tunazozana na hawa watu. You can imagine the amount of money these people are making. Trevor Noah left South Africa and went to US. Few years down the line, he's some of the richest comedians.
We're taking a short break. We are in studio with MC Jesse. He's an artist, a creative, but also politician. And he's saying he wants to use that opportunity to push for the rights for creatives to earn more. We'll come back and continue that conversation with him. It's coming up to 8:30.
What's up, nation? My name is Mariam Niko Ungwaro, Dagoretti North constituency, and I'm fixing the nation by just enjoying nature, bana. Simple as that.
And actually, very accurately, somebody has said Mariam is the new Jane from Tarzan. And she's saying, I'm very happy to see I'm not the only one who climbs trees. That is Mariam Bishar, who is obviously very much part of us on Fixing the Nation. But you can send us your WhatsApp Nation video, just like Mariam did. You can be as creative as her, or you can tell us what you're fixing, where you are, what you're thinking about as we also begin to head into an election period. What's happening around your constituency, your county. But start by telling us your name. We'd love to know your name, where you are, where you're from, and then send that to, the number should be on the screen, 07, it'll come up. And I've also tried to cram that number. But yeah, there we go. 07, I'm buffering. 07.
Even the system is buffering.
Yeah, 0769 590 762, 0769 590 762. Eric, don't laugh. Send it to us, put your phone on landscape, and send us that video. We'd love to hear from you. A bit of feedback as we continue our conversation with MC Jesse this morning. So Bima is saying, but why does Jesse really deserve entry into parliament if it's not about significant developments in his agenda? Lenny De Steve says, the president is your friend or bro, then ask him to push the bill via your friend or the majority leader. Even if you're there and they don't want it passed, you can guess what will happen, okay? Kenyans need to unshackle parliament from executive by choosing the right people in parliament. That's Jenga Njogu saying, I don't know that MC Jesse is one of them. He'll come back and defend himself. Charles Dungo says, but Jesse also needs to tell us if he understands the constitution, because that understanding would mean that he's able to do what he needs to do. MC Jesse kwa parliament, I see Jui. That's Donald where he's saying itakuwa too show. A few more. Robert Ndegwa says KJ and Jalango are in the creative industry and very close to the president. Yet, the bill has not been passed. So what will Jesse do differently by being close to the president? And what if the president refuses? Timothy asks. Those are valid questions. I think that's what Eric was trying to allude to.
And Lenny De Steve is also adding, even Jaguar was in parliament. Well, he's not in parliament now, but they knew at jokes in reality, but just illusions. You know, this is what I was saying earlier, Do we, because we look at somebody and we see that they are in the creative space, so we completely remove the agency of them using their mind and their brain for anything productive out of it. So when you see Jesse, you don't see like he has anything beyond making you laugh, right? Yet he's just given us an example. He is a successful businessman. He's thought business, he's gone into business, he's succeeding in it. He has thought about this industry, he's seeing what this industry needs, and he thinks it could get better. And their ideas that I have put those ideas down on paper, brought others creatives into it. We have all thought about what we need to do. It's not that creatives are only mnafanyanga tucheke juu hamna kitu mngine mnaweza fanya. I think the society needs to sort of look at the creatives differently from how we do it, because this is what leads to that judgment and all. So we look at you and you're like,
these are joker. I mean, when comedy and TV, that's all he knows.
Budget.
And it's true, Eric. I agree with you. People look at us, like, for example, every time I'm around town, I'm driving or I'm walking around, people still say hi to MC Jesse. People say hi to MC Jesse, the comedian, the person they've seen on TV for years, the person who makes people laugh. Sasa, I'm funny, I'm funny. You get me, I did not bring these gifts to myself. I found myself nikiongea watu wanacheka, nikakosa kazi Nairobi, nikaamua I can make this thing of making people laugh my business. Like, that did not stop me from being just Pamudhomi. You get? So people say hi to MC Jesse when they see on TV, but they don't know beyond that there's a person inside that is a serious individual. People don't really know that some comedians have serious families they run, and it's not a joking matter there. They have families. It's not a joke. Not every day you walk kwa nyumba kwa bibi yako mnaanza kucheka. No. You have to be a husband. You have to be a dad to these kids.
I think the other reason why we also can't ignore the kind of influence comedians have. Otherwise, I don't think they would get into politics. You go there because you already essentially have a constituency. You have voters. You have a huge voting bloc. I think now it's how do we then turn that, because the followers become the voters.
Yes.
I think that's what happens. But they are not, I don't know whether they are voting based on issues or whether the comedians who become politicians don't turn their comedic timing into development agenda. And I think maybe that's something.
I get that. And of course, for the people that have gone into parliament before me, some of them have failed us, But do not use that also to, you will be tempted to use that to paint the rest of us. But why don't you judge us as individuals? Mi sijaingia parliament ndio ni judge. In fact, si hata naweza amua siendi. What will you do? Nothing. But I'm offering myself. You know, people think that maybe kwenda parliament is all about yours, or maybe it's self-actualization, as I was saying, Eric. But there are some of us who are actually serious. There's some of us who are issue-based people. Because, so you want me to remain in comedy, like what maybe other people will tell you, sasa unaenda siasa. Sasa hii umeharibu. Si ungebaki tu hapa. So you want me to remain, nikuchekeshe, na you as a lawyer, no advance in your career. You're moving from law, maybe when you're parliament, or maybe you've done something else. People advance. Nyinyi wenyewe amkuwa kwa station moja, and I know you're going to be something else.
You know, hatuna shida uki-advance in comedy.
Exactly. People don't have a problem with advancing just in comedy. But I feel like I have something else to offer.
To bring to the table.
Give me
one day
a chance.
One day we will unpack ungebaki too. That thing is very toxic. It's something that I think as Kenyans we need to unpack within ourselves, where we want somebody to remain where they are.
Where they are, exactly.
I think broadly, actually, it's Kenyans are afraid or don't like change. So change is not an easy thing.
Yes.
And because you're a very public embodiment of change when you do, they're like, why are you changing?
You're disrupting me.
You're disrupting how I know you. You're disrupting.
You know, Eric, people ask me, sasa unaenda parliament, nani atatuchekesha? So it's not about chenye naenda kufanya. It's about huyu mtu amebaki bila jokes zangu. Mpaka nawaambianga, there is a lot nimewekea kwa YouTube.
Go there and laugh.
Go there and laugh.
Do you think that also when you get into parliament and we don't see you, so look at the others that we have, and now let's flip the coin, all right? So KJ, for example, is very, very active on the committee of ICT. You know, people who follow KJ would see, and those of us in the newsrooms will, because we report KJ on other things.
Yes.
But publicly, there's not often that you'll find KJ on a headline here advocating bringing a bill or debating a bill on a serious issue like the finance bill and all. It's when he's talking about, that was AI generated photo.
Yes.
Okay? And that's what people remember. Then they'll like, last time I saw him was at a public rally cracking a joke in a public rally. And then before that was at Ridiculous. So I just see the joker. I remember Jalango, I see Jalango on radio, Jalango in comedy, Jalango in this, Jalango, Rais Sema ini mbaya. I do not have an image of Jalango standing up to say, Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with this bill. I have a proposal that we amend this bill from this to the other based on A, B, C, D. I don't have a vision of Jalango debating in Parliament. So when you tell me now also Jesse is going to Parliament, I'm like,
of course it is an impediment. It is a challenge.
He'll be the court jester.
Yes.
In the president events out there, but never really taking the agenda to Parliament.
I agree, Eric, and that actually is a big problem for someone like me. I want to go there and do what I believe I can do. All members of Parliament are not the same. Even for us in the creative sector, we are not the same. Look at our show, Churchill Show, how we used to do it. One platform, same audience, different people on the same stage, and people are enjoying because we are not the same. Even there, we are not the same. Let them go. Wacha Eric Omondi aingie Langata. Wacha Jesse aingie South Imenti. Judges tukiwa pale. Wacha Jalango abaki. Wacha yabaki. Then look at us. Kama tutalemewa, si kuna power ya kututoa. Yes, just vote us out. But if you can paint us with the same brush, for now I understand because of what? My predecessors maybe have not been seen doing that. Balwacha niende basi, nifanye, then unijudge. Ukiona siko, nimakie. Nitoeni within the first term. Me sina problem. Yeah, if I will not deliver what I'm saying. And that is the politics we need to be doing. Because for example, me sitaki kukaa on the sidelines, online nikitukanana. Me, I don't want to be a keyboard warrior. I don't want to remain there nikisema, wange, siwache niende ninge mimi, nitafanya. But nikae hapo nikitukanana, wewe kasongo. No. Let me join the bandwagon. If I believe I have the change that people need, let me go. I'm one of those soldiers when you're nataka kukaa kwa battlefront.
Okay.
Mr. Kukaa behind.
How different is your approach from a few years ago to what it is now? Because you did a lot of work last time, right?
Yes.
You were campaigning a lot. We saw you doing a lot of on-ground activations.
Yes. Sasa kuna mistakes I did. I agree. There's some mistakes that I did in 2022. There's some things I didn't do right. So mimi nishavuka form 1. Sasa ni kama narudia mtihani ya form 1. So I'll correct. And the person that won against us, actually when I didn't get the ticket, the person who got the ticket, hakutoboa. Haku make it. The person mwenye alituosha alikuwa opposition. Na akatushinda sisi wote. And I learned a lot that time. I know, and right now I know what I'm doing. And I know the way, because I've gone through that route before. And I pray to God I succeed. If I don't, life continues. I didn't die because 2022 I didn't get. Life imeendelea. So there's life after politics. And that is what also other people that lose should also understand.
Away from Jano's question. What have you learned?
I can't tell you what I've learned. See, my opponent watazitumia wanitoe. Sai, wacha nijipange, my friend. Hapo najua nini nafanya. First of all, money was an issue. Money, kuna mali gas ilienda ikaanza kuisha. Towards the end, I didn't know that's when you need more. So I spent more before to fike ile stretch ya mwisho. So stretch ya mwisho ikani stretch.
Now you know about timing.
Now I know about timing. Okay, those are some of the things that I've learned. And
how important is it? I mean, what changes there? Like what is it that increases in intensity as you get closer to the election day?
It's
that
just
requires
like
much more resources and time.
It's just like running. So you may watch Usain Bolt akikimbia 100 meters. Let's take the relay. Ndio inakuanga na moto. Huyu anaanza, napatia huyu. Lakini pale mwisho ndio unashangilia. Huku katikati unaona tu anaenda. You're waiting for him. Bolt akishika anaenda. So that last stretch, if unasikia stretch, it requires you to give your all because this thing is timed. It has an expiry date. So it's about tarehe 8 nani atafika hapo wa kwanza. So that competition, but before then you feel like tarehe 8 iko mbali, then you realize, oh, in 2 weeks time tuna vote, oh my god, sijafika mahali fulani, oh sijaenda mahali fulani, I need to rush. So that rush requires you to maintain the pace. Watu wanakukumbuka bado, are you maintaining them? Are you still meeting them? So meetings become more frequent, intensity ya kumit watu ni zaidi, kwenda door to door inakuwa more. So you find you're spending more money in running around. Actually, money in politics is spent on logistics and not on giving people. That is a fallacy. Oh, tuna bribe voters. No. Actually, your car moving around. The last stretch, it has to move every day. Now you cannot make it with one. Ile gari ya sound, you have like 3, 4.
Yep.
Hizo 4 zikiwashwa asubuhi zitazimwa jioni. How much fuel? Yeah. So that is a cost. Besides that, wengine wamengoa posta zako, opponents, you need to replenish. Lazima ukae kwa macho ya watu na akili ya watu mpaka siku ya election. That is money. You have to print new ones, weke. Sijui umesikia kuna mkutano wapi. You have to make it. Because hauna time. It's the last mile. You have to do it. So that is where people spend a lot of money.
So it's grueling.
It is serious.
It's really a lot.
It requires a man with the agility to do it.
Does it matter who you align yourself with?
A lot.
How so?
A lot. Because if you look at the parliament, out of all those members of parliament, maybe 2% are people who are not aligned to any. So you cannot use 2% of parliament to say that that is how you can win an election.